See, again, you got to look at the big picture. Did Christ establish something that we need to embrace and conform to, or is it up to us to determine what we want to do and make it so?
I have a question. When we're talking about the beginnings of the church and the beginnings of the Mass, okay? So at what time in history did the format that we practice today with all the Eucharistic prayers, prayer number 1, number 2, okay, when did all that get written down and started?
Okay, well again, the Mass as we practice it today, exactly word for word, did not exist in 33 AD. Not word for word, but the outline.
The basic outline was there. But then how long was it before all these words got there, and then how long have we had all these words that we have now?
Well, the Mass is over a period of time. It's defining itself. It's tweaking itself. You know, there's something right now in the process where they want to change Mass a little bit. Have you heard that?
No.
Some of the words. Right now the bishops are is it at the Vatican?
With their spirit.
They want to tweak a few words. This goes on continuously in the Mass, and that's not a big deal. The components are all there, and it's just a matter of
exactly how
fulfilling these components and making them more fulfilled.
But are the cardinals the ones that decide? Like,
well, ultimately it has to go through the Vatican.
Yeah,
but I mean, who, like originally, way back, okay, 200 AD, were they all together doing all this stuff, writing all this down? So.
Well, remember, they didn't have printing presses back in 200.
So we waited until the
it's tradition.
Okay, it's just tradition.
It's the tradition. When Justin Martyr, in 155 AD, he wrote down. Were you there when I read that? I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He wrote down.
Right, the order.
Back then, it's tradition. This is what was done, and this was verbally. And did every church say every word exactly the same? No,
not exactly.
Of course not. But the content is all there. And then later on, as time goes on, they start to develop and formalize and establish, the rubrics on the exact components on how to say it and what to say. But it's a little bit development. But
I bet the Council of Trent, they probably set a lot of that because there was so much confusion, and that's when the church really put the hammer down to set itself apart from those who revolted.
Yeah, and the council before that, that's what I wanted to mention, the 18th Council expressed concerns for the abuses of the Catholic Church and pointed out the need for reform. Now, that's when we know what, I guess that's the reason that Luther broke off. The
church was doing some
bad guys
things
in the church.
Some people in the church, not the church itself, but there were people in the church that were abusing it, and the church needed reform.
He could have done it within, but he did it outside.
Yeah.
And then the Council of Trent is when they rebuffed the people that broke away.
Yeah.
They could have come back at that time, but they didn't. And now everything else is built on that outside the Catholic Church.
But again, the church started, you can see the format here, the components, and they did this, and as time went on, they tweaked a little bit, and it's going to continue to happen, this little tweaking, but that's no big deal. We're not destroying anything here, we're just building upon it. In the church we have something called the development of doctrine. What we know now in 2007 is a lot more than they knew in 50 AD about the faith. Not that what we know now is different or brand new. It's always been there, but over time we develop it and we define it better so that we have a better understanding of it. So we don't change anything. That's the key. When you say development of doctrine, it doesn't mean you change doctrine. You're just supplementing it over time so you know more. A perfect example is the doctrine of the Trinity. In 33 AD, they knew something about the Trinity, but over time, the Council of Nicaea, 325, that's when they formally defined the doctrine of the Trinity. Well, it took 300 years for them to formally define it and build upon what they originally knew so people had a better understanding of it. They didn't change it, they just built upon it.
Well, even in our lifetime, I was thinking when I was a young girl going to Mass, and what I learned was not nearly as great as what I can find today to be able to read. And just like what Father is reading in Mass, or on Sunday mornings about the Mass, what happens at Mass,
Yeah,
a lot of that.
There's more
just-
information.
Yeah, there's more
there's a lot
information, there's more things.
Yeah, so
we're more-
we're really growing fast.
So summarizing, the last paragraph on the bottom of page 4.
So, well, being poor,
All right.
the church Christ established, we need to find a church that has all 4 ways to experience Christ.
So always, we need to look for a church that has always to experience Christ. That's our goal in looking for a church. Again, our goal is to find a church that Christ established. And everything that He established, we need to embrace. We just can't say, well, I like this, but I don't like this. We need to find a church that has always, so far, to experience Christ. But we're not even done yet in searching for that church. So that lays down some of the groundwork. I sure wish Julie was here, because we're on the top of page 5.
We turned the page.
We turned the page. We're making a month's worth. I know, we have about 4 months worth of passages here today,
We're going to
right?
get out of here by August.
Yeah, we're working on
Late
it.
maybe August, but August.
So, can somebody read the entire paragraph on the top of page 5? We're making incredible progress here.
Just as in most recipes, it takes more than just a few core ingredients to complete a dish. Usually a component or two is required to bind all of the other ingredients together. So too with the church. It takes a source to make sure all of the ingredients are used properly, so they will produce the desired outcome.
The cook.
Oh! Now we've come up with all the ingredients we're looking for in the church. All these components that we just talked about. We found the ingredients, but as Helen says,
The cook.
we need a cook.
Well, don't ask Richard.
That accident over there?
Waiting to happen.
He's got toast and tea.
Best part about eating the reservations.
So it's great to have all the ingredients, but if we can't put them together in the right context, they're just still components of a recipe. We need a binder, something to pull it all together. Pull all the ingredients together. In other words, there needs to be something that assures us that all of the ingredients are used properly. Okay, we got the ingredients now, but how are we going to use them, especially properly? The next paragraph, the first sentence.
Well, on earth, Jesus was the ultimate authority.
All right, so now we're looking for the binder that's going to pull everything together. The ultimate authority, John chapter 1, verse 1 through 5. Let's read now. Now we're getting something called authority. We're looking for this binder now on how to pull everything together in an authoritative way. Someone want to read verses 1 through 5? John chapter 1.
In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was the beginning with God. All things came to be through Him, and without Him nothing came to be. What came to be through Him was life, and this life was the light of the human race. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it.
So who's this talking about now? In the very beginning of John's Gospel, who's John now trying to present to us? Christ. Who's the Word? Christ. And what does it say here? How does John start out his first chapter in verse 1? In the beginning. What's that a reference to, you think?
Genesis.
Remember how the Bible starts out? In the beginning God created. Now John says, in the beginning was the Word. So what's he trying to tell us about the Word? He was always there.